Hello everyone, and welcome back to the English Chatcast. You are tuning in to episode 10 of Module 3 of the Blueprint for Effortless English. I am your co-host, Ben.
And I am Anna. Welcome back, everyone. Take a deep breath and look at how far you have come. Today is a massive milestone. This is the finale of Module 3, which means we have officially completed 30 out of our 50 episodes.
It is absolutely incredible. When we started this journey back in Module 1, we asked you to completely change how your brain processes English. We broke your translation habits. Then, in Module 2, we rebuilt your physical muscle memory so you could master the rhythm of the language.
And over the last 9 episodes here in Module 3, we gave you the Conversational Engine. We took you out of the classroom and put you directly into the messy, chaotic, beautiful world of native social interaction.
Today is all about putting the puzzle pieces together. In this episode, Summary, the Social Toolkit, we are going completely holistic. We are going to review the core tools you learned, but more importantly, we are going to show you how they all connect to make you an unstoppable communicator.
Before we dive into our grand finale review, we have one last favor to ask for this module. If this conversational toolkit has helped you feel more confident speaking English in the real world, please hit that like button and subscribe to the English Chatcast channel.
Your support keeps the lights on in the studio and helps us reach thousands of other learners who are ready to break through the intermediate plateau. Thank you for being the absolute best community on the internet.
Okay, Ben, let us open up the toolkit. When we built this module, we deliberately designed it like a roadmap. We started with the smallest, most foundational pieces of conversation, and we slowly worked our way up to the deepest, most complex structures.
Right, and it all started in episode 1 with the glue, the lexical filler words. We told you to embrace the messiness. We gave you permission to use words like well, I mean, you know, actually, and like.
Those filler words were your first taste of freedom. You stopped trying to speak with perfect robotic grammar, and you started using those words to buy yourself time to think, to soften your statements, and to show empathy to the listener.
And once you had the glue, you were ready to build the bridge. In episode 2, we tackled the monster that terrifies everyone, small talk.
We shattered the illusion that small talk is just a boring exchange of facts. We taught you that it is actually a crucial social trust exercise. It is the ping pong match where you prove to the other person that you are friendly and safe.
We threw away the robotic I am fine and we replaced it with natural greetings like surviving or pretty good, thanks. And we taught you the golden rule of small talk, which is returning the serve. You always have to ask a question back to keep the ball in the air.
And to make sure you never ran out of things to ask, we gave you the F.O.R.D method: family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. If your brain ever goes blank in an elevator, you just scan those 4 letters and you instantly have a safe, engaging topic.
But conversation is not always perfectly smooth. In episode 3, we had to address the friction. We talked about agreeing and disagreeing naturally.
We taught you how to stop saying the harsh, confrontational phrase, I disagree. Instead, we gave you the ultimate diplomatic shield, the yes, but method. You learned how to validate the other person's point first by saying, I see what you mean, and then pivoting to your opinion with the word but.
We also gave you the exit strategies for when an argument gets stuck. You learned how to say fair enough and let us agree to disagree to gracefully close a debate without destroying the relationship.
Once you knew how to handle the friction, we decided to take the pressure completely off of your grammar. In episode 4, we taught you the ultimate conversational hack: asking better questions.
We showed you how to pass the microphone to the native speaker so they could do all the heavy lifting. We banned closed yes or no questions, and we introduced the T.E.D framework. Tell me, explain, describe.
Starting your questions with those 3 words forces the other person to tell a story instead of just giving you a one-word answer. And we taught you how to use hypothetical questions, like, what would you do if, to spark really fun, imaginative conversations.
But passing the microphone created a new problem. What do you do when they finish answering your brilliant question and they pass the microphone back to you? That was episode 5, The Art of the Follow-Up.
This was a huge turning point in the module. We taught you how to be an active listener. You learned that in English, you cannot just sit in silence while someone talks. You have to back-channel. You have to say, yeah, right, and wow, to show you are engaged.
And when they finish their story, you validate their emotion. You say, that sounds so frustrating. Then you deploy the psychological cheat code known as the echo. You just repeat their last 3 words as a question, and they immediately start talking again.
We also warned you about becoming a conversation thief, and we taught you the boomerang technique. You share a tiny, relatable link from your own life, but then you throw the boomerang right back to them with a new question to keep them in the spotlight.
That 5-episode stretch gave you perfect conversational manners. But in episode 6, we had to teach you how to fight for your life in a chaotic group setting. We talked about navigating interruptions.
We explained the concept of cooperative overlap. We showed you that native speakers talking over each other is actually a sign of excitement, not disrespect. And we gave you the double tap to pierce through the noise.
You learned how to raise your volume, say the person's name, and use a minimizing phrase, like, can I just jump in here really quickly? And you learned how to defend your own turn with the phrase, just let me finish this thought.
Then, in episode 7, we put you in the driver's seat. We taught you how to change the topic smoothly so you could escape boring conversations without causing social whiplash.
You learned how to hunt for keywords to build a natural bridge. You learned soft pivots like speaking of which, and that reminds me. And you learned hard pivots like not to change the subject, but you gained total control over the steering wheel.
With that control, we moved to episode 8, which was the ultimate test of your fluency, storytelling techniques.
We taught you the 4-part narrative arc. You learned how to throw a hook, like you will never believe what happened. You kept your context tight using the past continuous.
And the biggest secret of all, you learned how to switch into the historical present tense during the climax to make the action feel incredibly fast and urgent. And you brought it all home with a smooth landing phrase like, long story short.
Finally, in episode 9, we took all of that casual energy and applied it to deep intellectual topics. We taught you how to express complex opinions without sounding like a robotic university professor.
You learned how to use soft openers like the way I look at it. You simplified your thesis with the phrase, it basically comes down to. You anchored your abstract thoughts to the real world using analogies, starting with, it is kind of like.
And you learned the absolute highest level of conversational diplomacy, the concession. You learned to use the phrase, having said that, to validate the opposing side and make yourself sound incredibly nuanced and intelligent.
That is the entire social toolkit. It is a massive amount of information. But here is the secret. You do not have to memorize this like a textbook. These are not rigid rules. They are overlapping tools.
In a real 20-minute conversation with a native speaker, you're going to use almost every single one of these tools simultaneously. You'll start with small talk, use filler words, ask an open question, echo their response, soft pivot to a new topic, tell a quick story, and then express an opinion.
It becomes a dance. And to prove it to you, Ben and I are going to do something we have never done before. We are going to do a Master Roleplay.
We are going to have a completely unscripted-sounding natural conversation for about 3 minutes. We are going to intentionally weave together the tools from all 9 episodes.
I want you to listen actively. Treat this like an audit. See how many tools you can identify as we speak. Listen for the filler words, the T.E.D. questions, the bridges, the interruptions, and the concessions.
Let us set the scene. Anna and I are grabbing a coffee on a Monday morning before heading into the studio. I will kick things off with the opening serve.
Let us do it.
Hey Anna, how's it going? You survived the weekend?
Oh, barely surviving, to be honest, but pretty good overall. How about you? Did you end up going on that hike up in the mountains you were talking about?
Actually, yeah, I did. But you will never believe what happened. The weather forecast was completely wrong.
No way. What happened?
So I was driving up the pass, right? And it was super sunny. But suddenly, out of nowhere, the sky just turns black and it starts dumping snow. Literally a blizzard in the middle of October. I had to turn the car around and basically crawl back down the mountain at 10 miles an hour.
10 miles an hour?
Yeah, it was terrifying. Long story short, my hiking trip turned into me just sitting on my couch watching Netflix all weekend.
Wow, that sounds incredibly frustrating, especially when you were looking forward to getting outside. But hey, Netflix is not the worst backup plan. Speaking of which, describe that new documentary series you told me about last week. Is it actually worth watching?
Oh, the true crime one? Yeah, totally. It is fascinating. It basically comes down to how digital footprints can track everything we do. It is kind of like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs everywhere you go on the internet.
Right.
But Ben, can I just jump in here for a second?
Sure, what is up?
Not to change the subject, but did you get an email from the building manager this morning about the parking lot repaving?
Hold that thought. Let me just finish this point about the documentary really quickly.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No worries. I was just going to say, the way I look at it, the digital tracking is terrifying, but it also solves a ton of cold cases. Having said that, I completely agree that our privacy is basically gone. Anyway, what were you saying about the parking lot?
Oh, right. Yeah, they are repaving the whole lot tomorrow, so we have to park 3 blocks away on Elm Street for the rest of the week.
You are kidding. I know, right? They always do this stuff without giving us any real notice. It is so annoying.
For sure, it is a total headache. Well, I should probably get in there and start setting up the microphones.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us get to work.
And scene. That was it. That was the entire conversational engine firing on all cylinders.
It felt incredibly fast and dynamic. Let us quickly break down exactly what happened so you can see the matrix.
We opened with small talk. I used the surviving greeting, and Anna returned the serve with a F.O.R.D method hook about my recreation, the hike.
Ben used a story hook. You will never believe what happened. He used the historical present for the climax of the blizzard and wrapped it up with, long story short.
While I was talking, Anna was back-channeling. She said, no way. And then she used the echo. She said, 10 miles an hour? That forced me to add more detail.
After the story, I validated his frustration. Then I used a soft pivot. I said, speaking of which, and I used the T.E.D. framework to ask an open question. Describe that new documentary.
I used the complex opinion framework to answer. I said it basically comes down to digital footprints, and I anchored it with an analogy. It is kind of like leaving breadcrumbs.
Then I intentionally used the double tap to interrupt him. I said his name and asked to jump in. I used a hard pivot, not to change the subject, to bring up the parking lot.
But I was feeling assertive, so I defended my floor. I said, hold that thought. Let me finish this point.
I finished my opinion, used a concession by saying, having said that, and then I used the ultimate bridge. Anyway, what were you saying about the parking lot?
I delivered the bad news. Anna agreed naturally by saying, I know, right? And then I used the pre-closing exit strategy. I stretched out the word well and said, I should probably get to work.
We fit the entire module into 3 minutes of dialogue, and it sounded completely natural. Nobody sounded rude, nobody sounded robotic, and nobody got stuck in an awkward silence.
That is the power of the blueprint you have just completed. You are no longer just memorizing vocabulary words and grammar rules. You are managing the flow of human energy. You are directing the orchestra.
Which brings us to your final mission for Module 3. This is not a specific technique challenge. This is a mindset challenge.
Your homework for this week is the conversation audit. The next time you are in a social setting, or watching a movie, or listening to a podcast in English, I want you to actively look for the tools.
Stop listening purely for the definition of words and start listening to the mechanics. Watch how native speakers interrupt each other. Watch how they pivot. Watch how they cushion their opinions.
Once you can see the matrix, you can manipulate it. You will realize that native speakers are not performing magic. They are just using a very specific set of tools that you now possess.
Take a moment today to be incredibly proud of yourself. You have conquered the mental block. You have conquered the physical rhythm. And now you have conquered the social anxiety. You are ready to thrive out there.
But, of course, the blueprint is not quite finished. We have 30 episodes down, but we have 20 left to go. And now that you can drive the car in casual traffic, it is time to take it to the professional racetrack.
Oh, this is going to be amazing. In Module 4, we are introducing Mastering the Nuance. We are going to take everything you learned in the Conversational Engine and apply it to high-stakes, professional, and culturally sensitive environments.
We are going to talk about networking like a boss, running meetings, giving presentations, and navigating the incredibly subtle cultural codes of the English-speaking workplace. It is going to give you the ultimate professional polish.
You have built the foundation, and now it is time to build the skyscraper. You absolutely will not want to miss the kickoff of Module 4.
But for today, celebrate your massive victory, review your notes, trust your new instincts, and get out there and start some messy, beautiful conversations.
I am Anna.
And I am Ben.
If you are proud to have finished Module 3 and you are ready for the professional polish of Module 4, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We are so grateful to have you on this journey. Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and remember, learning English with us is
A piece of cake. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time on the English Chatcast.